Hello tacticians, in this video we are going to be looking at the brand new guild raid boss, Belasarius Cawl, and if you thought he might have been difficult in that campaign event we just had, oh boy, get strapped in. This is going to be interesting. As always, thank you to everyone who supports the channel, whether it's through subscribing or using my friend code, as it really does help me out. So let's start with what actually happens when you defeat these side bosses. As you can see, when you defeat Tangida, he makes the summoned Tech Priest Engine Seers weaker because they'll have less health, damage and armour. He will also reduce the armour of Belasarius Cawl, and probably the most important part is when you kill him off, that self-repair mechanism of Belasarius begins one round later. We'll get to that in a bit. When you go in to fight Tangida, he starts with his best pal outtro and 4 of those Tech Priest Engine Seers, which give vengeance for the Omnissiah. He also has the 2 abilities that we are used to, the Doctrina Imperatives, which means he'll either give more armour or more damage to those mechanical units surrounding him. He has also got the Control Edict, which means he can summon in those Skitari Vanguards to really make it a bit awkward to attack him. And finally, something new for the side boss, which obviously we don't get, is at the beginning of each of his turns, he deals toxic damage to each enemy that has had their armour reduced. And bear in mind, you can have your armour reduced just by being hit by Tangida, or by being on a contaminated hex. At the end of his turn, he'll then summon 4 Skitari Vanguard at the top of the map, and he'll contaminate a row of hexes on the battlefield. So that in itself makes this guy an interesting one to deal with. So let's have a look at how he plays. So here I am just bringing in a quick team to show how dangerous it is to underestimate this side boss. Khan is still great as he puts out a lot of damage and can kill people very easily. Obviously you're going to need someone like Isabella to keep your troops healed up, and Marnia's Calgar will help obviously to buff your damage. Now as you can see, Khan took damage as his armour is reduced at the beginning of Tangida's turn, and the reason for that is because of the Rad Zone core, which means at the beginning of Tangida's turn, anyone who has reduced armour will be hit for toxic damage. So you really do not want to be in any of these green spaces, as it's going to mean your characters are going to get hit hard. The toxic damage itself lasts quite some time, so we know that Khan is going to get hit time and time again by that beginning of term effect, so we're going to have to keep him healed up. So what we'll do, we're going to put Ulf over here, and Khan next to outtro with Isabella between the two. And in fact, although this is stupid, we'll put Calgar here. He does get his armour hit, but being next to Isabella, it means there is at least a chance of survival. And of course, we'll attack with Killmain Burn with Khan. We'll heal Khan, as we know he's going to get hit hard. And whilst I would absolutely love to send Lucian in, he really isn't the right character to bring in here. So we'll just take the high ground and shoot down. I've brought in the Belasarius rocket launcher, as we know there's going to be troops coming in at the top every single turn. And there was that Rad Zone bombardment. But as you can see, Isabella really doing the work to keep everyone alive. Although, not quite enough. So I think ranged characters are probably going to be a friend here. And as you can see, everyone now gets hit with that armour reduction. So they're all going to get hit in the next turn. So there's going to be a lot of playing around to find out exactly what troops are going to be needed to best tackle Tangida. The one thing I will say is obviously the Belasarius rocket launcher is going to be an absolute godsend because you can keep on suppressing the troops as they come in. With all that said, let's move on to the next side boss. Actus is also very important to remove because he will actually remove some of the summons from the battlefield when the battle starts. He also reduces the damage and block chance of Belasarius Cawl, and again by removing him completely, that self-repair mechanism begins another round later. So as you can see, since Belasarius can heal himself, you're going to want to kill both of these side bosses. Against Actus, we have a different issue. We are going to want to kill these Archaeotech crates, because with Actus, if there are any of these crates on the battlefield, he'll receive less damage, but he'll lose health each time we destroy one. At the end of his turn, if Actus is adjacent to an Archaeotech crate, he will remove one at random from the battlefield, and all the mechanical units will gain 5 levels of that machine vengeance, which increases the amount of damage that they do. So I've brought in some flyers so we can get over here and hopefully destroy this one. Not quite, but we have still got Martenio in here as well. And of course, we'll try and kill this one. It looks like we're going to have Khan's help. And I've brought in Ravas. He's got the Overwatch, which I don't think we'll use this turn. Probably use it next turn. But let's see what happens. So in they all come. People getting hit. And there's Actus next to one, and he removed the one he was next to. And as you can see, 5 levels of Machine Vengeance, and that includes on Sygex with his Overwatch. Now, this kind of shows why I've brought Martenio in here. He's got Overwatch, but using Hammer of Wrath, at least that will turn off the Overwatch, if not do a lot of damage. So we'll continue trying to hit this crate. Not quite. And, well, let's kill it off completely with Ravas. And with Khan, we'll kill off the other one, as we don't want Actus and his chums to get even more levels of that Machine Vengeance. And with this one, I forgot to bring in a Machine of War, but I would suggest, again, Malleus rocket launcher is probably quite good, or maybe, because I'm using the Tau, the broadside battlesuit would be a good fit as well. So now we can start actually hitting Actus. So focus to get rid of Sygex, and with him dead, it's just a case of doing as much damage as you can to Actus. So overall, this is a simpler fight than against Tangida, but it is a bit of a race against time to make sure you destroy as many of those strong boxes as you can before Actus destroys them and gains those buffs. And finally, on to Belasarius Cawl. He has the usual traits of a boss, which are immune and, like most bosses, a big target. And of course, he is mechanical. But then, on to his abilities. He has Invocation of Machine Vengeance, where he will summon 4 Tech Priest Engine Seers at the bottom of the map, and then he will add 1 level of Machine Vengeance to all friendly mechanical units on the battlefield. Arc Scourge attacks an enemy unit within 2 hexes. Up to 3 additional units adjacent to each other are also hit, and that can include friendly units. Enemy units that are hit receive molecular damage, and if they're mechanical, they're also stunned for a round. So a very good reason not to bring in any mechanical units into this battle. For each mechanical unit hit, Belasarius Cawl gains 1 level of Machine Vengeance. And bear in mind, he can hit his own troops, so he could be getting those anyway. After using this ability, Belasarius Cawl can then use another action. Solar Atomizer transfers all levels of Machine Vengeance from other friendly mechanical units to Belasarius Cawl, and that Machine Vengeance will really ramp up his damage. Then he's going to face in one of the 6 directions and mark all hexes in a straight line, 2 hexes wide from his position. At the beginning of the next turn, that will then deal melter damage to all enemies on those affected hexes. So that's the simple case of don't step in the firing line. Shroud Psalm has up to 2 other friendly units gain 2 levels of Machine Vengeance, and then are affected by Shroud Psalm until the start of their next turn. Those units have additional armour, and normal attacks against them score less hits, to a minimum of 1 hit. And the self-repair mechanism. This is the one we said earlier why we want to kill these side bosses, because then it will start a turn later for each one defeated. Because at the beginning of the end of round 2, Belasarius Cawl will repair himself for a certain amount of health for each level of Machine Vengeance that he has. So the more levels of Machine Vengeance, the more he'll heal, and of course the more often he'll heal if those 2 side bosses aren't destroyed. And now the really scary ability, the pre-calibrated Purge Solution. If Belasarius has at least 10 levels of Machine Vengeance at the start of his turn, he will deal 3 lots of toxic damage to all enemies on the battlefield, and of course that is going to be affected by that Machine Vengeance. So you're looking at a lot of damage hitting all of your troops at the start of those turns where he has at least 10 levels of Machine Vengeance. So it's going to be very important indeed to kill off any of his friendly characters on the battlefield. And this is what the battle with Belasarius Cawl could look like. And there's a lot of troops on the battlefield which you are going to want to kill immediately, as, to be honest, you're not going to want all of these to get that Machine Vengeance and then really start to ruin your day. So there is the multi-melter attack, so we're going to have to make sure no one is in there, and you can see at the moment he's only got 1 level of Machine Vengeance. So we've got this turn to basically make sure that there's going to be no other ones. Terrible placement of that AI, thank you very much. To gain those additional stacks. So we'll concentrate on these guys first, and then obviously just come in and start attacking Belasarius. Again, I've brought in the Malleus rocket launcher. Belasarius doesn't move much, so targeting him is fairly safe. You might hit your own troops. As you can see, you don't want to be standing in that line. I know they're only summons, but never mind. And this is the dangerous bit. We've now got 4 additional troops down here that we are going to want to kill. And Snotflogger's quite good for this, as his grots seem to be fairly survivable. I haven't quite got him close enough here, unfortunately. So I'm going to be using Show Sill to attack the ones at the bottom. So you're going to want to have your people in 2 sections. There's going to be ones at the bottom taking care of these guys, and some at the top attacking Belasarius. We've seen most of the abilities now, and now let's move to, if you don't stop those levels of Machine Vengeance racking up. I've just fast forwarded to a point making sure that Belasarius has at least those 10 stacks of Machine Vengeance, just so we can see what he'll do to our troops when this occurs. So let's move everyone out of the way of the melter beam he has here and see the damage that occurs. So in short, don't let him get to 10. If you like these videos, then it would be much appreciated if you at least think about using my friend code, as it really does help me out. Or if you or your guilds are looking for a new home, please reach out to any of the guilds shown, as we'll always welcome new people into our midst. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the battlefield.